What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly podcast covering the video game industry. Join us every Thursday for a discussion about the latest gaming news, reviews, and exclusive reveals, alongside Game Informer staff and special guests from around the industry. I'm your host, Alex Van Aken, and today I am joined by the Newshound himself, the once and future informer, Wesley LeBlanc. Hello, Wes. How you doing?
Hello. Yeah, I think it's one of those future, past, present. You never know, right?
Yeah. You never know. Thanks for being here, Wes. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
We are also joined by a video game journalist, former Game Informer editor, a great friend, John Carson.
I'm back, baby. You can't keep me away.
Yeah. They couldn't keep you away, man. Thanks for being here, John.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, you are a very special guest. And I'm glad we were able to hang out at Evo and work together.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
We will. Rounding out the crew today is a very special guest from Fanbyte.
Hey.
He's been a friend for a while.
Hey.
You know him. You know the FF14, the voice, the authority of FF14 at Fanbyte. It's Michael Higham.
Hey, what it do, baby? Thanks for having me on. This is it's dope to be with the informers of games. This is pretty wild. And I was also kicking it with John and Alex at Evo. We got a couple drinks. I actually donated a slice of pizza to John, so
yeah, you did. I owe you, I think, a beer and a pizza.
No, Daddy Game Informer cut the check, and we'll be good.
Perfect.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, guys. By the way.
Yeah, Wesley. I got you, bro. Like, listen, if you come through the next Evo, I'll get you a slice of pizza and a drink.
I'll remember that.
It was great. We also had Johnny Rockets at like 3 a.m.
Yep, as you do.
Which was a decision not made by us. I don't think. I think it was
that Cam Hawkins made an executive decision.
Yeah, that was a choice. Today we're going to be talking about Evo, our time there. The three of us were, of course, at the event for the entire duration. We saw a lot of stuff. It was a ton of fun. We're also going to be talking about our Cult of the Lamb review. Wes was on that for Game Informer this week. And then during the playlist, Digimon Survive and Soul Hackers 2. But we'll go ahead and get started. Let's get into our Evo recap. Michael, you're the special guest this week. How was your Evo? Was this wasn't your first Evo, right?
No, this is my second Evo that I've attended in person, and it just keeps getting better. It's my second one. It was even better. I loved what I experienced in 2019, but this was a whole nother level. I think it's because having gone a second time, I know how to navigate the event itself, and because it's it's not more of a convention, but it's in addition to a tournament that is also very entertaining, it is a convention and Artist Alley, a bunch of free arcade machines posted up where you can just play anyone who's there. So it's like going to an arcade. Side tournaments, merch, vendors, just like a lot of notable people in and around the FGC roaming around. I'm just like dapping everyone up, saying what's up to different like people I only know through Twitter, and then finally linking up and catching up with folks and chopping it up with them. The Evo experience is a very social one. I think it's more exciting than the other industry events. Not to like say anything particular about what the other events offer. It's just that there's constant entertainment at Evo. So like you don't have to seek out the cool, like if you go to a PAX, you have to like, okay, what's the cool stuff I want to check out on the floor? Which games do I have to line up for demos? Where do I find so-and-so at which hall? Whereas Evo, you go there and it's like, hey, listen, top 64s are popping off here. Top 64s are popping off there. The top 8s are in the next hour for this game. So go check it out there. Oh, and you want to play DDR? Go play DDR, which I did for like an hour. And it's like, oh, if you want to play like Third Strike at an old cabinet with some stranger, you can do that there. So it's just all day. Like, and Alex, John, you know what's up with that because you were there, and it's just 3 full days. I felt like after 3 days, I felt like I hadn't done everything I wanted to do, just because there's like a lot of overlapping in the schedule in terms of like which games I want to watch.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to see Grand Blue top 8, but I had to get dinner because I had been there since the morning, and I just had to skip out on it. And now looking back, like, dang, I missed out on Grand Blue. But overall, like, Evo is so hype. those moments, being in that arena on day 3 for the Street
Oh my
Fighter
God.
5 top 8, bro. Oh, I've never felt that much energy. Like, I've been to sports games too. Like, listen, nothing compares to that. Oh, and Evo 2019, watching Arslan Ash win Tekken in that year, and then watching IDOM almost take it after running through some legendary players, Daigo, Gachikun, Tokido, and then almost taking out Kawano for the grand finals, resetting the bracket, making it through the losers bracket. Just like,
It was heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking, but like still unforgettable stuff. And you only really get that at Evo, at least at that scale. Because obviously there's other FGC events like Combo Breaker, Capcom World Tour, Arc Revo, but something about Evo, it just feels like, this is, if you were to go to one FGC event, this is the one you want to go to. So front to back, awesome event to experience. And yeah, just a lot of great people around, including John Carson, Alex Van Aken. We rolled deep for
we
for
did.
those days. Wesley,
I wasn't expecting the marathon that this event was.
Yes.
Oh, same.
The 9 a.m. to 3 a.m.s. It was a lot of fun, but you got to take care of yourself, man. It's easy to just, it's 9 p.m., I got to go and eat lunch,
Yeah. That's basically
because you want to be there for everything that's happening, but you just can't because physically you can't.
John, how was your show? How did you enjoy it?
it was great. It was exhausting. It was everything that Michael said. Like, everything is so social there, and there's so much going on that it feels impossible to do everything. So even being on the show floor for 2 days. I guess it was only 2 days of the show floor, and then the finals day. I was always finding something new to look at or to play around with, or to people to catch up with, and not to mention like all the meetings and interviews and stuff that Alex and I had to go on. The weekend was just jam packed, and a lot of it's a blur, but it's easily like the best event that I've been to. It's the most fun that I've had for like a work trip.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot. We talked to a lot of people. Obviously friends and peers, but also we had a few developer interviews. We talked to the president and CEO of Arc System Works. We talked to a lot of people, but we talked to IDOM before and after. That's going to be a cool video coming out soon. I don't think I was prepared for the scale of the event. I knew it was big, but when you're in the stadium on the third day, and there's I don't know how many thousands of people in that event. Thousands, all cheering for two nerds duking it out on a PS4. It was really cool, and this was my first Evo. I think it was John's as well. And John is like a seasoned fighting game fan. I am not. I have an appreciation for the competitive spirit of it all. I love competitive games, and I even told IDOM this. I was like, hey. I'm not even like a huge FGC guy, but this weekend you put like on such a great show, and it's made me a fan. And I think that's my biggest takeaway walking away from Evo this year is like, this is definitely not the last time. Like, I would love to go again next year.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
I've also been looking up Combo Breaker, and I'm in.
Let's go to Japan in March.
God, that would be great. That's a great time to visit Japan too. I say
Mark it down.
The guy who's never been there. Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm in. The past 3 nights or the past 2 nights since we've been back, every night I've played Guilty Gear.
Okay, I was gonna ask did you get the itch to? I've been playing a lot of Melty Blood.
Yeah, I did, and I've been. One thing I guess we gotta say. We were gifted I was gifted a golden fighting stick from Victrix.
Victrix.
Yeah.
It's the same one that was presented to the top 3 competitors in each game.
Yeah.
Over
And
Evo.
you just got one?
You just got one.
Yeah, I got one. I got one with the GI logo engraved on it.
Game Informer
That's so
placed in the
sick.
top 3, baby.
I know the top 3 winners have like the game they competed in engraved. I don't have that. I just have our company logo, which is very cool. And it was very Daniel Pena over there at Victrix, brother to Danny Pena from Gamertag Radio, was gracious and in the middle of our appointment, he walks up. He's like, "Hey man, I got a surprise for you." I'm like, "What's up?" He's like, "We want to give you something." I'm thinking like a swag bag.
Yeah.
A T-shirt.
Here's a water bottle.
Yeah. We got a gold fight stick for you.
Like,
I was
bam!
like,
Here's a $400 fight stick. Hold that.
Yeah. You can't even buy this variant.
That's also like pretty much priceless because of how few there are.
Yes, that was a really, really cool experience, and I've been playing on that the past 2 nights.
Oh, good. I was going to ask.
That's
how's that
amazing.
going? I know you're new to fight sticks. How's the transition going?
It's been going good. So on the plane home, I bought a Wi-Fi pass, as I typically do. And after I was done scrolling Twitter, I pulled up a bunch of articles on Guilty Gear, a bunch of guides, and was learning my numpad notations.
For a second, I thought you were going to say you pulled up the fight stick on the
I thought he was saying that too.
Oh my god, the poor person next to I'm already like a big dude, and like, can you imagine a dude pulling out a fight stick?
Yeah, that fight stick
playing it
is
on my
huge.
Steam Deck. I know it is.
Respect, though.
But yeah, I've been the transition to fight stick has actually been like pretty good. I remapped some of my bindings, so I've got like fight stick on the left, obviously, and then I've got like my thumb to my ring finger are like the top 4 buttons. So I remapped the commands in Guilty Gear, so I've got everything on there, and so far like it's pretty great. I'm really liking it.
You sticking with Geo?
Yeah, Giovanna.
Okay, cool.
Did you like you're learning notation? So you're like, were you already familiar with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as the directions? Oh, okay, and then like A, B, C, and D for the inputs.
I don't know A, B, C, and D. I just
okay.
know the directions.
Oh, okay, because like a lot of ArcSys tutorial, or I'm playing Multi-Blade and Under Night. Yeah, they go by like the universal notation. So that was one thing I wasn't familiar with until I got like deep into fighting games like years ago. After that, it kind of like opened my eye. I'm like, oh shit, now, oh damn, my bad. I was like, oh snap, I opened my third eye. All this stuff makes sense because you watch a lot of fighting game tutorials, or just like most games where you look up the better players who have videos and articles and stuff. They do that where it's like, hey, do 2, 3, 5 B and C, and if you're not familiar with that, like that makes absolutely no sense to me. But once you kind of get in tune with that, it's like, yo, I have my third eye open, and a lot of this makes sense, especially when you start watching like commentary as well. It starts to all click. Whereas like you could probably watch back like some commentary for Evo over the weekend and be like, I don't know what these commentators are saying. They're like, yo, we hit him with the down B, or like with a 2B, or like a neutral, like a 5C. The 5C
It's like
was
2B.
wild.
What is this near?
Yeah, it's like, what? She's in Soul Calibur. Like, we're not playing that game. So yeah, it's kind of cool to be. It's like, yo, I'm in on something. Ooh, I know this. I'm part of the crew now.
Yeah. It's been really fun. I mean, I play a ton of FES games. I competed in FES games. I won a Modern Warfare tournament back in 2019. It was one of the Snowbike Mike ones. I hope he brings those back. Those were always really cool.
Yeah.
Bring those back, Mike. But yes, I've always liked competitive games. Like that's kind of like I would say my main cup of tea is multiplayer shooters. I don't know. I can't get enough. Even when I'm losing, I feel like I'm getting better. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I relate to fighting games is it's just me, you know? And every game, I don't really care if I win or lose in the beginning right now. If I can pull off a combo, if I can, you know, get my blocks in, I kind of like am taking wins away each game.
Yeah, baby steps. It really is too, because like for me, when I started getting really into anime fighters, like a lot of the tutorials, they're very detailed and very good. But if you stare at like a command list, it's just like, I'm trying to do these inputs the best I can without really taking the time to understand, like, to piece it together. Once you start like seeing like, oh, that's like the natural of like doing like a BC jump cancel BC to a throw, like you see it on a command list, like, yo, that's overwhelming. But in my mind, if I just know like, oh, what I need to do is just do a BC combo and then jump cancel, like I know how to do that. Sometimes it's kind of overcomplicates things if you like dedicate yourself to just doing the command list. So, but it takes time. So for people who might get frustrated with that sort of thing, it's like, just relax, kind of understand like what context are you supposed to be using these moves and how you pull off these moves. And I think it'll start to be a lot more digestible in that sense.
Absolutely. I'm trying to get the muscle memory down and know that, okay, this finger means this. I don't want to just memorize, kind of like when you're playing guitar, like I play music. I don't want to just memorize like a tablature.
Absolutely.
Where like I want to know the notes and like what the sound is when I'm, pressing something.
That's a perfect comparison, because like I'll look at like a tab sheet, and in my mind, like now that I've been playing guitar for a very long time, like I know what like a G chord to a C to a D, like you say that to me, I'm like, oh, I know what that is. But you look at a tab, like, okay, wait, okay, like the numbers on the frets, I'm like, oh, okay,
yeah.
It's like, just tell me it's G, C, and then D, and then I can play that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's kind of similar. So I'm having a lot of fun learning fighting games, period. Like I played Strive when it came out and really enjoyed it, but I kind of put it down. And then of course I've got that post Evo high and really enjoying playing it again. And cool. With the fight stick, it's been cool to learn both. I'm really enjoying it. But there was also a lot of news that came out of Evo. Typically, traditionally, after the tournament or during, the respective publishers of the games will come on stage and get people hype. I mean, they've got a crowd of thousands in front of them, of their core fans. It's a great time to announce things. And we got several announcements this week. Firstly, we'll get into Tekken news. There was, there's a Tekken update, a balancing update coming in the next week or two.
I think it's August 17th.
Okay, yeah. And, at the end of the trailer, they show the Tekken 1 arcade ending where Kazuya is throwing Hayachi off the cliff. If you aren't familiar with that, Smash
put his ass in a volcano.
Yeah, exactly. And then it transitions to a modern Kazuya, looking all evil and stuff.
He smirks, his eye glows. Doing Kazuya stuff.
And then there's a voiceover that says, "Get ready." And then it ends, and the crowd went absolutely wild.
It's like, get ready for what?
Yeah. A sequel? Yeah. I would assume it's a sequel, but I mean, we don't know. At least publicly, they haven't said anything. But are y'all, I know y'all are Tekken fans. Mm-hmm. Did this do anything for you, this announcement?
I think it's cool that they're at least teasing it, so people know that they are working on something, because like I don't think Tekken 7 has had an actual update in like a year and a half, and now like they're doing this balance update, which is awesome for the longevity of 7, but then having that little teaser for 8 or whatever the next one is, it's a nice gesture to the fans.
Yeah, now that you mentioned, I think having the balance update probably means that this Tekken 8, let's call it Tekken 8, is probably a ways away. Like they wouldn't probably put in a balance update if they weren't expecting Tekken 7 to come back for like Evo next year. So I don't think people should expect this next Tekken to be around anytime soon. Of course, like it wasn't, they didn't even show a logo. But for me, I've been saying this quite a bit, is that as a longtime Tekken player, Tekken 7, it's hard for me. Like there's a lot of things that they could improve on in terms of like infrastructure, quality of life. But Tekken at its core feels like I don't know where they go from there in terms of gameplay wise. I just feel like Tekken just felt like a very complete and whole game in terms of how it plays and works. And Tekken's like been very consistent through the years. Like like I played T4 back in the day. Like
4 was the weird one, but like you're right. It has been pretty consistent. Like Tekken is Tekken. Like if you look between like each Street Fighter game, you can pinpoint like what's new in each one and what's different. But for Tekken, it's very much an evolution of things that have been around since Tekken 1.
Yeah, and so I'm excited to see what they change or how they change up the formula. But I don't know. I still feel like even though Tekken 7 has been around for about 7 years at this point, I still think it has some life left in it. I am excited to see if the balance update kind of shakes anything up competitively, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Also, being stage side for when Nee took the victory in the grand finals, I wasn't expecting the smoke. And I had my camera out, and I was like, oh my God, this is so cinematic. I was so happy as a video shooter to be stage side for that. It was very hype. And also, like, Nee just totally fed on the crowd's energy. It was fantastic.
Yeah, the crowd was counting down because Nee won that final round to seal the deal through a timeout in the match. So the crowd's chanting 10, 9, 8. I was like, oh, it's happening. And then at the last second, he does like a rage art and just like, I'm just gonna knock you out. Yeah. Done deal. Like, yeah, it's just cool moments like that.
Yeah. More news. Street Fighter 6. We're getting Jury's returning alongside. There's a new character named Kimberly. John, I'm gonna go to you for this.
Yeah.
Who is Jury? I know, again, I'm not the biggest fighting game fan.
Yeah.
I don't know this character.
Jury's been around since Street Fighter 4. She made an appearance in Street Fighter 5 as well. So she's like part of the newer cast, but a fan favorite. She's evil, if you couldn't tell from the trailer.
Yeah.
She was working under M. Bison before, but now Bison is gone, and she's kind of working on her own, it seems. But her model in this Jury is always like very stylish and like attractive, but in this, like, her face just turns to just malicious and like creepy so fast. Like, whatever they're doing with the RE engine for this game is incredible for facial animations.
Did any of y'all play Yakuza?
Yeah.
Okay, because she gives me big Goro Majima energy.
yes. Tongue out.
Yeah, I love it. Just like sinister, but you know that they're like she's a cool character, and I love the way that across the board, I love what SF6 is doing in terms of how their characters are designed. Especially now after watching the top 8 for Street Fighter 5, I'm like, wow, Street Fighter 6 looks a million times better.
Yeah.
From an art style perspective, especially.
Yeah, it's kind of striking. I've now played Street Fighter 6 twice. Played it at SGF and now here, and every time, just like seeing the drive impacts, like the animation on those, when it kind of like there's like that brief freeze frame, and you've got like the almost like spray paint look as you like make that contact. Oh, it's so good. I love it so much.
Speaking of spray paint, Kimberly was also shown off, who's a brand new character. She is kind of the replacement for Guy, who's like the ninja character from previous Street Fighter games. Yeah, she looks really cool. She uses like spray paint cans in her arsenal to like, I think she has like a little teleport that uses like a puff of spray paint. That looks really cool. Her super, she's tagging up her opponent and like using their head to, I think, dot the I on her name in some graffiti. It's a lot of fun.
Kimberly too is a very exciting addition because one, her design, again, like another feather in the cap for Street Fighter 6 during this kind of pre-release phase is that this, again, the character designs are looking great, and it's really cool to have a black woman as a star character in Street Fighter. And when the trailer went out, a lot of black folks in the game space was praising her design, and it's really cool to like see Street Fighter like folks are kind of like saying, yeah, they're getting it right. This is a really exciting addition. This is really cool. And yeah, just like seeing her gameplay preview, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna play Kimberly when that rolls around too. So just like big W's all around for Street Fighter 6 so far.
Yeah, hell yeah. Moving on, we got a lot of Evo news, but almost through. There's a new Fatal Fury game.
Yeah, this is weird because It's not, well, it's not weird. It's actually really cool. There hasn't been a Fatal Fury game in, geez, like almost 2 decades now. I believe the last one was Garo Mark of the Wolves, which was a kind of a sequel to the Fatal Fury series that introduced Rock Howard. It happened like years after the Fatal Fury games. It kind of established what the new era is, and then that never got a sequel until now. And so I thought it was, so we interviewed Oda-san from SNK, and afterwards they handed us like a gift bag, and in there was a copy of Mark of the Wolves. So I was wondering like why that was one of the things that was in there, and this was probably why. Yeah, this is like if Street Fighter 3 got a sequel now, which I guess 5 kind of is, but like it's like that weird spin-off, like future, like looking into the future. I don't know what else to really say about it, but I think it's just exciting that they're going to be continuing that series legacy outside of King of Fighters, because I think that's where a lot of the attention has kind of gone with SNK recently.
Word. Well, moving on, Dragon Ball FighterZ coming to PS5 and Xbox Series X and S with rollback.
Hey.
Finally getting rollback netcode. They announced that at the grand finals
at 2:30 a.m.
Yeah, 2:30 a.m.
We were there.
The crowd loved it. We were. And people, I think we on Twitter, Sonic Fox is talking about they're gonna main DB Fighters again. Several pros announced they're gonna be coming back because I guess my understanding is that the game was, on its way out because there just wasn't. There was a rollback, and it was kind of dying. I guess.
No more updates, kind of rough online play, especially in today's day and age. Having like good online play is life or death for a fighting game, I think. And,
yeah, definitely.
So many companies are moving over to rollback netcode, which is just in simple terms, it just gives you a better connection over further distances, without like introducing like more lag to the experience, so like your inputs are going in properly, and
it's a different way of syncing inputs between two players. And like you said, like this is a way to like instill life into I hope it does for DB FighterZ. I also hope it works. It brings life to Persona 4 Arena.
Yes,
across the board, everyone's rolling that back out, and it's very it's dope to see. Like that should be the standard moving forward. And I think that the excitement that everyone feels when rollback is announced for their favorite game says a lot about how important it is. And
it's such a mundane thing, though. It's like, oh yeah, hey, we're changing the net code for our online. It's the dorkiest thing to be excited for.
Crowds like,
let's go.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people saying like DB Fighters like rollback is gonna save that game and kind of ensure its longevity.
Also getting rollback is Samurai Showdown, which came out a few years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
And,
wow, yeah, 2019, right?
Yeah, and that'll be out next year in 2023.
Cool. Last piece of news that we're going to talk about for EVO. Bridget is the newest character.
Hell yeah.
And Guilty Gear, and she's phenomenal. I played Jessie, and Jessie was just beating me up with Bridget. I can't wait to buy the DLC. She's out now, so if you have Guilty Gear Strive, you want to play Bridget, you can buy her for like $5.99 or get the season pass.
Yeah, the season pass is $25, I think, and it should have 4 characters in it eventually.
Okay. Word. But Bridget is very much my kind of style of character, I think. Like very quick, very in your face, but all of her damage is kind of being done while juggling you with like yo-yos and kind of reeling you in and out, almost like hooking you and pulling you in and just beating you up with a yo-yo. It's very cool. Have y'all played Bridget yet?
I haven't had a chance.
I have. It's so like got home from the airport. It's like 11 p.m. sitting around. And I'm like, I should probably do something else, like maybe sleep or something. But I'm gonna load up Guilty Gear for a while and started. I downloaded Bridget, just immediately went into arcade mode, and she's so much fun. I love the momentum that she has. Everything just feels like she's moving forward and like getting in the face of the opponent. She's super fun. I can't wait to figure out some combos with her and actually start throwing down with some of you guys online.
Also, I love her design.
Yeah.
Like, just super cool looking character. Also, one of the smaller characters. I was watching the gameplay and seeing her fight like other people. I'm like, oh dang, like she's got like a pretty small hitbox.
Yes, standing to like Gold Lewis Dickinson is like, damn.
Yeah.
Cool thing about Bridget too. So Bridget's a complicated character in the history of Guilty Gear. She was raised as a girl, but she was like introduced as a cisgendered male in the earlier Guilty Gear games. But in this one, weirdly enough, like Gold Lewis helps her realize that she is actually a girl, and she
awesome.
wants to identify as a girl. Like that's the whole arcade mode for her. It's I think it's done pretty well. Like some of these games could kind of ham-fist their way through more sensitive subjects like this, but I think it does it well enough. And
Yeah, it's like you said. I think when the announcement was made, some folks were kind of like, "Oh, how's Arxis going to handle this?" But like,
Yep.
Arxis straight up said, "No, she's a trans woman.
Mhm.
That's that on that." And you get that through her story mode in it. So it's nice to see like the developer put their foot down, and like people were like, "Oh, well, it's localization." It's like, no. There's no ifs or buts about it. This is what Arxis intended lore-wise for this character. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
sorry, transphobes, get out of here.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
And John, you said that you mained Bridget in the earlier games. Or?
Yeah, it was like one of those characters I just kind of gravitated towards. I like the yo-yo mechanics and gimmicks. It was Bridget and Chip, so it was like the tricky yo-yo character and the ninja. So those were my like 18-year-old things that I gravitated towards. But
Definitely.
having Bridget back is a breath of fresh air for me in that game. I feel like there's a lot of characters that I didn't click with before, but like immediately once I started playing Bridget, it was like I was instinctively just pulling out combos and figuring stuff out on the fly that I feel like I wasn't able to do with other characters. So
Yeah.
Bridget's back. Bridget's my main again.
Cool.
Hell
That's
yeah.
dope.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, that does it for our EVO recap. We've got some cool videos over on the YouTube channel. Live right now is John and I went to go see the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 arcade 1-up cabinet in a 30th floor hotel suite. Went hands-on with it. We vlogged the whole thing. It's up on the YouTube channel now.
Ooh, I want to check that out.
Yeah. youtube.com/GameInformer. And then I've got a larger video feature going up on EVO itself, EVO returning. I interviewed a lot of people, and including competitors, developers, and that is going to be a larger feature I'm editing right now that will probably not go up till early next week. If I'm lucky, it'll go up late this week. But yeah, keep an eye out for that over on the YouTube channel for more EVO goodness. Let's get into our topic of the week. It's all about our Cult of the Lamb review. Wes, I know we've kind of kept you in the dark for a while in terms of EVO. Wes warned me he's not the biggest fighting game fan, but we appreciate you sitting through all that talk. But we want to hear you talk now, Wes, about Cult of the Lamb, the roguelite
Meets
life sim?
Yeah, something like
Something
that.
like that? Yeah.
Yes. Also, the Evo talk was awesome. I've always admired Evo from a distance, especially as a Smash Bros. Fan. So it kind of sucks that it wasn't there this year.
Agreed.
But yeah, Evo seems like an amazing event, even to go to if you're like not someone who plays fighting games. Yeah, Cult of the Lamb is a great game, and it's out today when you're listening to this. You can buy it right now if you're listening to this. I gave it an 8 out of 10 on the site, and you can check out my full review there. But yeah, as Alex kind of alluded to, it's Binding of Isaac style roguelike meets Animal Crossing almost.
Okay.
And yeah, it's strange, but it works pretty well for the most part. Basically, you're going through these 4 dungeons, each kind of owned or there's like a god that oversees each one, and your overall goal is to defeat the god at the end of it. And so as you're going through the dungeons, you're doing like some pretty Hades-like action combat, rolling around, random weapons, random tarot cards that give you special bonuses and abilities. You have curses, which are like projectile magic attacks. And you're kind of just going room by room. You don't know what's in the room before you go in there. So each room is like a randomized mystery, basically. Sometimes you can just go into a room and there's 10 chests and you get a bunch of gold or resources for your cult. Other times it will be just filled with enemies. And I found the combat to be great pretty much from start to finish. It's like a 12-hour game according to Massive Monster and Devolver Digital. And I played it and it took me 19 hours to roll credits. And I think that's because I was kind of intent on doing everything. Like I'd never finished a dungeon without going into every single room I could see on the map. And that's because I really, really like this combat. It's quick, it's fast, it's clean. It feels really good in terms of like vibration on the controller. I played on Steam Deck almost primarily, and it runs like a dream on that. And then the other half of the game is, on the surface, it looks like Animal Crossing. And my biggest critique with the game is that it's kind of propping itself up to be Animal Crossing, and that you're building a cult and you have this headquarters, you get to design it and all this kind of stuff. But the game kind of leans more into like a factory like resource management sim. So I went into this excited to design a cult and make my headquarters feel awesome and look very Wesley and kind of make it my own thing. But the game has a heavy emphasis on the need for resources, and quickly my cult became just like a factory. I was sacrificing followers left and right, murdering ones that got out of line, putting them in prison, feeding some of them poop sometimes.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, it's an interesting like dynamic. It's a cute game. It looks like Happy Tree Friends with all the same gore of that early 2000s cartoon. But you're like, you kind of have to be a bad guy to beat the game. And I guess that's in the name, like you're starting a cult. I don't think there's any good cult leaders out there. But yeah, like you are quickly realizing that these followers who you get to name and design are actually just kind of like your units to use how you want. And so the fun I felt at the prospect of designing my cult and naming my followers and designing them to look like my dog or my cat, or I had one that was my wife, like quickly disappeared because you soon realize you're going to probably be sacrificing your dog or watching them die and then using their meat for meals to feed the other followers. It's a zany game and it really embraces that. But my biggest like critique overall is that it leaned a little too hard into the resource management aspect of running a cult, and I would have liked a little more like creative input, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
But like, what is there works. If you go in understanding this is one half roguelite, one half resource management, you're going to have a really, really good time.
Yeah, I think I've played probably 2 or 3 hours of it on my Steam Deck at Evo, actually, on the plane to and from. And
with
yeah,
I
get with the fight stick, of course.
Yeah.
That might actually work.
I think it probably would actually. I think I was also expecting more Animal Crossing in terms of the base building and stuff. At least in the early hours, it's very much like, oh, I unlocked sleeping bags, and it's you lay down the tile and I can barely tell that it's a sleeping bag, and there's not really much interaction other than just place this on, a tile grid. And it's just, I was getting the sense that, oh, this is just like increasing, like changing the stats of my base.
Yeah, everything goes back into making you have better dungeon runs.
Yeah. And I think I was hoping for the opposite, where the dungeon runs help me to have a better home or whatever. And I guess it does, but I think the priorities are flipped from what I was expecting, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
which is fine. It's
really
just, again, kind of changing my mindset a bit while I play it. I'm still having a great time. I think it's a really cool little game. I think you mentioned Devolver Digital is publishing this, Massive Monsters developing it. It's on, I think, like everything, all consoles, I believe, and PC, of course. But yeah, so you see, it took you about 20 hours to beat.
Yeah, about 20 hours, and I'm on PC. But if I had a PlayStation code, I would be platinuming this game because I'm very close to having everything unlocked. So like, despite giving it an 8, it's still like a really, really good 8. Like, you really get sucked into that loop, and I would be playing for hours late into the night when I should be going to sleep. Like, it nails what it's trying to do. I think it's just it kind of comes off as a different game, and until you get a few hours in and realize what it's trying to do, it might be a little off-putting in that regard.
See, I didn't know that there was the dungeon aspect of it. I thought it was just all like the life sim, like running a cult situation. So that's actually good to hear that there's like some action in there, and that's a big portion of it.
Yeah, it's really good too, and the game is hilarious. Probably the funniest game I've played. The kind of anecdote I've been giving people that have asked me about it is, so I named my first followers after my animals, like my 2 dogs, my cat, and then I named the 4th one after my wife. And I was like, oh, cool, I've got my own little family cult thing going on. And yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And well, don't say all yet. My wife's follower ended up being a prankster, and so she would come up to me and be like, you need to prank somebody or I'm going to lose faith in you as a follower. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you need me to do? And her prank was to feed Bonnie, which is my cat in real life, one of my followers who's also a cat in the game, a bowl of poop. And so,
Aww.
yeah, super cute. You go and collect poop that your followers release. Like, you have to go and clean it up, otherwise it will make people sick and possibly die.
Oh yeah.
And then you go and you cook it. You just go cook some poop on your stove, and you get a bowl of poop at the end, and you feed it to your follower. And she made me do that 4 different times. Like, 4 subquests I got was to prank Bonnie by feeding her poop. And it was hilarious every time. And then eventually...
What happened to Bonnie?
Bonnie would get sick every single time. You have a 75% chance of illness. And so you have to put them into bed, let them rest for a few days, unless you have a healing bay built, which I didn't build till much later. And then the 5th time she asked me to prank Bonnie, it was time to let her go. So I gathered the cult and we sacrificed my wife.
Oh my God.
Fifth meal of poop is the charm.
Yeah. 5 is too much.
Yeah.
How did your real wife respond to this?
At first, she thought it was funny, and then she was confused why she keeps asking Bonnie to eat poop, and then she was on board with me sacrificing her. It made me stronger, typical cult leader stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, really, fueling the patriarchy. Yes, it's kind of messed up, dude. This game seems very cool. I've played, I think it's at 2 to 3 hours. Michael, have you played this yet?
I haven't. I know there's some folks at fanbyte.com. That's fanbyte.com. Hit video game website. Who I think Colin McGregor, who's kind of, I guess, leading the guides charge on that end. So if people end up playing it and need some guidance, Fanbyte guides are always the right choice, if you ask me.
Yeah. By the way, y'all's Destiny content,
Ooh.
unrivaled.
Yeah.
Whenever I have I don't play Destiny 2, but I read a lot of
just
Destiny 2.
Just reading the guides?
Weirdly, because I'm always on the verge of playing Destiny.
Oh,
too.
yeah. Okay.
And so I'm like, all right, I got to get back in. Let me go and read up. And so I'll read the weapon guides and stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm making a mental checklist in my head of what I need to get when I play. And then I don't play.
Yeah,
which is sad.
That's cool. Oh.
Well, cool. Well, that's Cult of the Lamb. Wes, anything else you want to say before we move on?
It's $30. I think I would recommend it to anybody that likes either of those aspects of the game. If you like Animal Crossing, give it a go. If you like satanic cults and rituals, give it a go. And if you like action combat, give it a go.
Word. Well, let's get into the playlist then. John, we're going to go over to you for Digimon Survive. Kick us off.
Yeah, Digimon Survive is a new strategy or tactical RPG / visual novel that centers around your favorite Digimon. You've got your Agumons in there. You got your Greymons. There's just a bunch of different of your, I don't know, the old ass Digimon that are in there. But
yeah,
going into this, I expected kind of a more lighthearted thing. I know it's called Digimon Survive, and I didn't really consider how dark this game was gonna get. but there's a lot of like abuse and emotional agonies that people go through throughout the course of this game. I'm not finished with it yet. I am reviewing it for Game Informer. Should be hopefully up in the next few days. But yeah, you're a group of kids that find themselves like going through this cave, and they find this shrine, and they, I believe, pass out, and they wake up outside this school that looks like the camp that they were supposed to be at. And no one's around, and the building just looks like no one's been there for like 3 decades. And this group of like 8 or 9 kids are just trying to survive in this world, and they're accompanied by these Digimon that show up, and they're like, "Hey, I just kind of bonded with you. You're my person." Just kind of how it works with Digimon, I guess. But you are exploring that school and its surrounding lands to try to figure out how to get home, how to survive. And survive is actually a really big component of it, because a lot of these situations are life or death, and a lot of it hinges on how you communicate with people in your group and how those people communicate with their Digimon and how their relationships are affected. There are points where me as the main character, I have like accepted Agumon as my Digimon, and like that is a partnership. And there's a bond there that's strong, and I know that character is there to protect me and whatnot. But like all the other characters have their own conflicts and emotions and whatnot that you have to like dance around and try to like talk to them to build bonds between those characters that can like affect the game down the road. It's actually very complex.
Really?
For like a visual novel.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, a lot of times you're given like dialogue choices of how to move the group forward or how to approach a specific topic with a character, and that can either build a greater bond with that character, which I believe just gives you like some bonuses in the strategy RPG portion of it. I know we haven't really talked about that part yet, but yeah, I feel like the biggest part about the game is the visual novel aspect, and like the core relationships and how you care for the people in your group and how you deal with the stresses of trying to, like, everyone there's a teenager. Everyone's like between the ages of like 11 and 17 or something. So no one's like an adult. No one knows how to fend for themselves fully, and everyone has like their own ideas on what they should do and what they shouldn't do.
I do have a question. Do you get to choose your Digimon, or are you defaulted to like...
You are defaulted. Like, Agumon is going to be your Digimon. But what you do within the game, like, there's... For bigger choices, you have, like, usually 3 options. There's, like, a morale option, a unity option. I can't remember the exact wording for that one. And then a wrathful option. And depending on how you... make those choices throughout the game will actually change how Agumon digivolves later.
Wow, okay.
So, and that's also like a big cornerstone in the story, is like how the human's emotions affect the Digimon and can basically doom a person if things get too wild, and like if people start falling into their own despair or their insecurities or their own personal problems. Things have gone south a few times for my group, and it's pretty rough every time it does.
Yeah, I've heard like it. I mean, you've said so yourself, but I've watched cutscenes and stuff of this game. I'm not gonna play this game, but my curiosity was just needing to be satiated, and so I was on YouTube just watching stuff. Obviously, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but I was surprised at like how dark it gets.
It gets real dark. Like,
yeah,
there's characters that are like abusing their Digimon, like physically like hitting them and calling them like pieces of trash, and people like separating from the group and not complying with what everyone wants to do, or like seeing things like their parent who has been dead for a long time.
That's the cutscene.
You saw the Rio stuff. Then that's like a lot of it's pretty disturbing. Like, this is not gonna be a like kids Digimon game. This is like an adult's Digimon game,
which is cool.
Yeah, it gets rough. It gets kind of violent. It gets, like I said, emotionally challenging, I guess is a word to use. Going into like quickly the strategy RPG stuff, a lot of that's just it's super basic. You put like your Digimon on the battlefield. You can move like X amount of spaces. Everything is just like on a grid, and a lot of your strategy is just like positioning. So whether you're attacking from like the sides or the back, or if the enemy's blocking, there are elemental resistances and strengths and stuff, but like it doesn't really play into the combat that much from what I've played so far. A lot of it's pretty simple. It's more time consuming than anything, and not really all that fun. But
are there consequences to losing fights? Because I mean, one of my favorite strategy RPGs of all time is the Banner Saga, and like you would go into fights in that game, and that's another game that's very dark. You know, dealing with a lot of heavy themes. You would go into fights in that. And if you didn't play right, and if you lost, like there was a chance that that character would just be completely gone. Does that play into Digimon? Is there permadeath?
Not at all. It's really like fights are something to like cap off like something that's happening in the story, whether it's like the end of a chapter and you have to fight a boss, or you can go into like free battles, which will you can kind of go in whenever and go up against wild Digimon, where you can recruit them to be on your team. And doing that's kind of, at first, like the mechanic for it is kind of interesting. Like you have to talk to them. They ask you questions. You have to respond with one of 4 options. If they like it, it like builds a meter. If they don't like it, it like reduces that meter. And once you get it up to like a certain amount, they ask you 3 questions. You only have three chances to get that meter to a certain point. And then if you do, they ask you, what do you want from me? And you can ask them if you want them to join your crew or to give you an item. And there's a percentage chance that they'll join. And I found that if that percentage is less than like 50%, they almost like never join you. So it's kind of frustrating because you have to then go into another fight if you want a specific Digimon on your team, and having to memorize like what the responses are for each of those questions that are 3 questions pulled from a larger pool of questions. So you might not get the same responses every time. It's kind of frustrating and time consuming, and in the grand scheme of things, you probably, at least where I'm at right now, you don't really need any of the extra Digimon. Like what you have in your group of like humans and their partners is enough. So yeah, I'm kind of disappointed with the whole strategy aspect and group building aspect of it, and more happy with how the visual novel is playing out so far. So that's what's keeping me going. It's the visual novel side.
Yeah, Michael, I know you're a big visual novel.
Hell yeah.
Are you Digimon, dude?
Nope.
Fair.
How's that on that? I have
Yeah.
respect for Digimon. I watched it a little bit when I was younger, and I'm like, I'm a Pokemon person, so
it's really
cool.
hit or miss.
Yeah,
with that first series.
I know some Digimon stands in my life, and I hope they're happy.
Yeah, I wonder what I would love to get like a Pokemon take on this. Also, total side tangent this week. I'm trying to go on all things Nintendo to talk about at the Shay, but I have an idea for like a Pokemon city builder, and I really want to see that come to light.
Dope.
Yeah, speaking of twists on 90s cartoons. Well, cool. Digimon Survive seems interesting for sure.
It is.
I don't know if it's the game for me.
I don't know what I'm gonna be rating it yet. I know like, because the tactical portion is pretty not great, that's probably going to lower the score for me. But like, if you like visual novels, like this is a pretty damn good one as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
So like, there's a lot of interesting things that are happening, interesting choices to make, a lot of difficult relationship aspects to navigate. So yeah, check it out if you like that. But
It does seem like the most interesting Digimon thing we've gotten in a while, in terms of like themes and all
absolutely. And yeah, if you're looking for something that's a little bit more mature, check it out. If you're looking for something that's like has the depth of like Disgaea or something for a strategy RPG, don't even do it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not worth it. If you're looking for that strategy itch like I was, it's not there.
Okay, good to know. Well, people can find your review in the coming days, in the magazine maybe too.
I believe that was the plan.
Well, stay tuned for John's Digimon Survive review. Thanks for sharing your impressions so far, though, John. Let's go over to Mr. Higham, talking about Soul Hackers 2. What is Soul Hackers?
So Soul Hackers is a old school spin-off of a spin-off. So listen, if y'all know about Shin Megami Tensei, let me tell you some. So Soul Hackers 2 is, so the original Soul Hackers was a spin-off of Devil Summoner, and Devil Summoner is a branch of Shin Megami Tensei. And okay, I wanted to really like Soul Hackers 2. Now, granted, this is a preview period. Up to what I can talk about, my preview is on Fanbyte.com. I am an SMT and Persona stan. I love the whole SMT line of games, and Shin Megami Tensei 5 was one of my favorites from last year. Anyone who knows me knows that I love Persona to death. I have lots of ink done in relation to Persona, and I reviewed Persona 5 Royal for GameSpot when I was with GameSpot, and I put my whole heart into that. Like, I love SMT. So I went into Soul Hackers 2 wanting to find something, you know, okay, this is a sci-fi cyberpunk take on the whole the SMT lineage. But I feel like Soul Hackers 2 it feels like, I don't want to say cheap. I don't think that's the right word.
Budget.
It feels small. It feels low budget.
Yeah.
As if it was, you know, we just need to put something out there. It feels very basic. And it's kind of disappointing to see that the way this game is structured and kind of the juxtaposition between how it's visually interesting and the limited scope of what you can actually do in the game. Like, this game looks like, from an art style perspective, this game looks dope. It's really nice to when you walk around some of the city and you see the cityscapes and a lot of the visual flourishes of a sci-fi cyberpunk world, and like, wow, I really want to know more about this world. I want to explore it. But a lot of the segments in which you can go to different locations and all you really do is go to different shops for items or side quests. So far in the preview period, I can only talk about some of its early dungeons, and like the intro dungeon is just like some shipyard that's a very basic layout. It's just like a flat maze where you fight demons that pop up in the world. They're like visual glitches, and then they turn into demons, like your typical SMT demons. Combat's going to be very familiar, which is good. I love the press turn combat system. Of course, this has some different mechanics to it, which I think make it a lot more active and aggressive than, say, something like SMT5. It's cool. Like, every time you hit a weakness, you get what's called a stack, and at the end of your turn, depending on how much stacks you accumulate, you do what's equivalent to an all-out attack in a Persona game. So it encourages you to be aggressive and lay on damage, and it makes boss fights pretty interesting because the bosses hit hard. Like, this game is actually quite difficult in some of the battles, so you have to really anticipate and set yourself up to where you're not going to get one-shotted, or you're not going to get like knock out multiple teammates after your turn. So you need to protect yourself, but you also want to make the most of your stacks. So turn-based combat systems are, I think some people feel some type of way about turn-based combat systems, but SMT has always been able to incorporate different mechanics that make it more than just like, oh, I'm gonna hit their weakness, I'm gonna target this enemy or whatever. So I think that's fun, but everything else around Soul Hackers 2 just feels, I don't know, it story wise, I think expected more. It like really tries hard to kick off, tries to get you emotionally invested without giving you a reason to be invested in it. Like they give you all these characters like tragic backstories, but it never builds to it. Like your intro to these characters are boom, tragic backstory. Now they're your party member. And when I think about why I like other Atlas games is because I think that they spend the time to build towards something meaningful, whereas this game kind of tries too hard to be meaningful in that regard. And I see a lot of potential in it because it is centered around adult characters who have adult problems, who are caught in like this underworld of devil summoning. And but it's just from a writing perspective, it's just very basic. It feels like it feels like something I would have written in high school in terms of like the way its dialogue is. It feels like a first draft that needed to be punched up. And I'm gonna keep playing it. I'm gonna see it through because I do want to cover this game, and it's an Atlas joint, so I have to see it through, just for the sake of knowing that like, hey, I actually finished this game. I saw everything it had to offer, and I can use that perspective when I talk about other RPGs or just other games, and just understand where Atlas has been and where with its various properties. But again, that's early on. It kind of establishes its stakes quite soon and very fast, so I kind of you can see the formula from the early hours, which is cool. But I just don't think the game like earns its right to be like this emotional experience or whatever. And yeah, I don't know, it just like the dungeon design, there's something called the soul matrix, so there's some social link-esque type things in there where you hang out with some of your party members and then you go into this Tartarus style dungeon that's actually a lot less interesting than Tartarus if you played Persona 3. It's just like an empty cyberscape that's laid out like a maze. It's like super bare, and this isn't pulling me in. You go through like an hour exploring this maze like space, fighting enemies to make it to a certain point in there, and then you get a boss fight that reveals like some piece of the character's backstory, and then it's like, oh, I really failed at this part in my life, and then they kind of dance around this kind of piece of their own history, but never really get to some like the humanizing aspect. It just tells you like something tragic happened to me. Damn, you hate to see it. You keep it moving, and I just think it's a really, really shallow way of expressing these characters. Who I could see a version of this game that really does draw me in, but it's not what this is. So
it sounds like they left a lot of that development in like the Persona games, where
sure.
Like people are actually confronting what has happened to them or what they've done, and like owning up to it or getting over it in some way. Is that accurate? Where like they just don't give you that satisfying conclusion to like an emotional arc. Yeah,
that's what it feels like.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is, but I mean, I don't know. My experience that I've talked about in my preview is only like the first 7 to 8 hours, and of course these games tend to be upwards of 60 hours. I don't think this one is as long as a Persona game. Like it took me 125 hours to finish P5R, and that was the second time I was playing Persona 5, or that was the third time I was playing Persona 5 in some capacity. But I don't know. It just, from a gameplay, like you could tell like straight from the control scheme, the way the game is styled, like art style wise is cool, but like everything else around it feels kind of low budget, which is I don't like using that as a descriptor, but I feel like it's the most accurate way to put it.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I'm also juggling Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which I think is tremendous, and I'm only like 5 hours in at this point. Like that's a game that establishes emotional stakes extremely well right from the jump. It's when I think about Soul Hackers 2 in comparison to Xenoblade Chronicles 3, like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 knows how to establish characters without even saying much. There isn't just like much dialogue, but in terms of like setting up the concepts of its world and showing characters' emotions through just how they emote and their mannerisms, and just like the little snippets of dialogue that they say to each other paints a very vivid picture of what that game is going for. And Soul Hackers kind of like by comparison, like, I want to be playing Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And especially coming off of the Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative, talk about a game that is written extremely well with great characterization and incredible voice acting. I guess I'm just like playing other games that that do those things so much better that when I think about my experience with Soul Hackers 2, I'm like very disappointed. Or I'm like kind of disappointed, but again, like I said, preview.
Sure. Wes, are you an Atlas guy?
I like the idea of being an Atlas guy, but I'm 67 hours into Persona 5 Royal, and I love that game a lot. Obviously, have not beaten it because I don't think you can beat that game in 67 hours. I love Persona 4. I stopped after getting Futanaba, I might be saying her name wrong, in Persona 5 Royal, and I felt like that was a good spot to stop. Yeah, last year. And I was going to go back to it, and then I haven't, but I need to. And Soul Hackers 2 kind of was like, I was hoping it was going to scratch the itch, but yeah, previews have kind of softened that a bit because Sci-Fi Atlas sounds right up my alley. That's like my jam.
It sounds dope.
Yeah, and then
that hurts. Like that's the part that hurts. I'm like, this is like a great idea. It's just,
right?
Man.
Yeah. Especially, gosh, if it got like the love that a game like Persona got, that would be a mainstay, I think, in gaming. But it kind of sucks to hear that it's not doing it for you.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. It might pick up. So don't.
True.
Don't take my word as. Also, this is a Game Informer podcast, so Game Informer may have different opinions.
Sure. But I mean, you can go to our fanbyte.com for
hit video game website fanbyte.com.
Yeah, y'all have the best headlines, by the way.
Oh yeah, because we don't care. We can.
We were talking about that last. Was it last episode we were talking about?
Fanbyte? Yeah. We had a listener question that was, "What's their favorite headlines in gaming?"
That's a credit. I think Ken Shepard is very good at headlines, so shouts out to him. Yeah,
for sure. Well, let's get into some housekeeping really quick, and then we're gonna close the show out with, we just got a handful of listener questions. We always start housekeeping off with a podcast review. If you take the time out of your week to go and leave a podcast review on Apple Podcasts or a rating on Spotify, we want to say thank you. This week's podcast review comes from Ian T. Clark on Apple Podcasts. It's a 5-star review saying, "The show that can't be stopped." Man, let me tell you, Ian, this show has seen a lot of changes in the last 2 years, and I guess it can't be stopped. I guess you're right. Ian's review says, "I've been a big fan of the GI show and its various iterations for many years. Based on Alex Van Aken's pedigree, we are in good hands for the future. 11 out of 10. Ian, thanks for those kind words. I needed to hear that.
He's right.
I really appreciate it. I hope he's right, man. I mean, we're only I think 3 episodes into me being host, but we're hanging in there. We're having fun. We're having great guests on the show. So Ian, thank you for leaving a review. It does help us out, and also makes me feel good. So thanks for the kind words, Ian. I appreciate it. Moving on to weekly streams, twitch.tv/Game Informer, 2 p.m. Central on Thursdays and Fridays are typically when we're streaming. I know we're getting some new faces set up in OBS. John Woody, one of our programmers, he is getting ready to, I think, play some FF14 soon.
Oh,
more Woody content, man. John's so cool.
He's got the voice of an angel, man.
It's true.
Yeah, it's. I'm like, why are you a programmer? You should be. We should switch spots. Well, we shouldn't switch spots because the website wouldn't work.
I was always bummed that he would always only say like 2 words during every stand-up.
Yeah.
It's like,
because like, what else am I supposed to say? I'm working on the website. It's like, yeah, thanks for keeping things alive for us, John. But yeah, he's going to be streaming more for us soon. He's raised an interest. I think he's streamed in the past, and Reiner actually was like, hey, we should get John on, and I fully agreed. So
yeah,
hopefully you'll be getting more John Woody content.
He said 5,000 hours in Final Fantasy 14 last week.
Oh yeah, he loves that game. He is
it's amazing.
Invested.
Wow. Okay. Well, I have a website for him.
Yeah, for real. I bet he reads it. John Woody's awesome. Yeah, go and watch him stream some FF14 this week. I'm sure we're going to be streaming a couple other things. It's been a minute since I've been on a stream.
Yeah, let's play some Guilty Gear.
Oh, that could be good, actually. That could be really good.
Hit me up.
Yeah, what's today? Wednesday? Oh, tomorrow? Ooh. Yeah, maybe we'll make that happen, John.
Yeah, let me know.
I'll let you know. But yeah, twitch.tv/Game Informer, 2 p.m. Central on Thursdays and Fridays. Notable YouTube videos of the week. Go check out our Marvel vs. Capcom 2 arcade cabinet. It's kind of like a vlog slash, video
interview
feature.
with John D.
Yeah, John D from over at Arcade 1UP. It was a fun video to make. It was breezy. I'm trying to do more of that kind of content on Game Informer.
It's got a post-credit scene.
Yeah. There is a post-credit.
I
scene
thought you messed up. I'm like, why do you leave this in? And I'm like, oh, I get it.
I gotta fill the minutes. I gotta get the ad revenue.
You
man.
gotta hit that algorithm.
That extra 10 seconds. It's life or death. But yeah, go check out that. We've got. I think I'm gonna be working on a Cult of the Lamb video review, getting that up before the game's released today. So yeah, a lot of stuff on the YouTube. Of course, that larger Evo feature. We've got a lot of stuff. I'm going to Gamescom in a couple of weeks. I'm going to London next week, barring a negative COVID test. I feel fine, but safety first. And so head over to youtube.com/Game Informer for all of that. Shout out to Michael Higham for being on the show this week. Of course, go and read all of his work over on fanbyte.com. You can also find Michael at Michael P. Higham. That's HIGHAM on Twitter. Is there anywhere else people should go to follow your work, Michael?
Absolutely not. Well, actually, so fanbyte.com, but if you're looking for the Final Fantasy XIV coverage in particular, especially because there is a live letter this week, thelinkshelf.com is our URL for our Final Fantasy XIV hub, where it's exclusively the coverage for that. So if you are a Final Fantasy XIV player, go to thelinkshelf.com. That's hit video game website on Final Fantasy XIV, thelinkshelf.com. But yeah, mostly for me personally, it's on Twitter at Michael P. Higham, where I tweet about a lot of stuff I can't talk about on a family-friendly podcast such as this.
It's great. Of course, you can also follow John at John_Carson. John, where else should people follow you?
Yeah, follow me on Twitch at John Carson Games, and I think that's it. Those are the two big places right now.
Awesome. Also, you had a great review over on IGN.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, my first freelancing gig, Multiverses. Go read that review or go watch the video review.
I watched it. I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you.
I watched it, but it was very good. I felt like you were like the perfect person to review that
Thank
game.
you. Yeah, I was. I kind of lucked into that. The usual fighting game guys over at IGN were at Comic-Con when that beta dropped, so they suggested me, and one of the people that suggested me was Mitchell Saltzman, who we hung out with a bunch this week.
Hell yeah!
Hey, shouts out to Mitch.
He's awesome.
It was great meeting him.
Yes.
I think I'm gonna get to hang out with him in Germany again. I'm very excited to have a new friend. But yeah, he was awesome. Of course, you can follow Wesley at LeBlanc Wes on Twitter, and you can follow me at It's Van Aken. Don't forget to go listen to our other podcasts, Video Gameography, our video game history podcast, All Things Nintendo, and From Panel to Podcast, which is our comic book podcast hosted by Editor-in-Chief Andrew Reiner. Lastly, shout out to Matt Storm. They are our audio editor. They've been crucial in allowing me to have more bandwidth in my week after we've gone down to just having one video editor. So Matt, thank you very much for all of your help on editing the podcast. It's been sounding great the last couple weeks. If you want to follow Matt, you can follow them at DJ_Stormageddon. You can go and listen to their podcasts, Fun and Games, and their Mass Effect podcast called Reignite. Yeah, let's get into listener emails, and then we're going to close the show out. If you want to be part of listener emails, you can send us an email at podcast@gameinformer.com or subscribe to us on Twitch to get access to our official community Discord. You just have to subscribe one time. It's just kind of a paywall of sorts to keep the trolls out, to make our space a little, make it more safe. So if you have a Twitch Prime, that also works. And if you have any troubles syncing your Discord with your Twitch, or if you've done that, if you have issues syncing Discord and Twitch, contact them. If you've done that and you can't get into our server for some reason, you can email me, Alex Van Aken at GameInformer.com. But yeah, this is the part of the show that you influence what we talk about. First question this week comes from Ninja Master Dave. Would be interested to hear about all things Street Fighter. That's the question. That's a big question, Ninja Master Dave. Street Fighter's cool. Did you get to play it, Michael, at Evo?
Yeah, I got hands-on with Street Fighter 6, and I played against the legend, Justin Wong.
Wow.
I forgot about
Yeah.
that. Oh, my God.
I played against Justin Wong. It was funny because Imran, friend of the show, former GI, Imran Khan, so we worked together, and we had an appointment to get hands-on with Street Fighter 6. Pulled up, and I saw Justin Wong playing at one of the stations, and I asked PR. I was like, "Yo, can I play against him?" He's like, "He's been here for 2 hours. He's just probably gonna be here all day. Just ask him. He's probably gonna be cool with this." I was like, "Yo, listen, Justin Wong, big fan. Can you whoop my ass?" Because like I'm there to capture gameplay footage, and I'm not great at Street Fighter. So if I could get gameplay of him whooping my ass, I'm like, oh, this is better for everyone involved. And overall, like I like I said at the top of the show, I guess, is Street Fighter 6 is a vast improvement from 5 in terms of fluidity, in terms of it being a lot much more visually interesting game. I was playing mostly Luke, who seems like someone who had a wildly problematic past, but you know what? He's a fun character to play, and I was messing around with some of his command lists, some of his inputs, and it flows really well, and I just like the vibe and the stages, the street art. Along with it, I think it's just like a really good thematic fit for Street Fighter moving forward, and I just like the way it plays.
Absolutely, it's so fluid. I mean, as somebody who has always dabbled in Street Fighter, even like the modern control type has been awesome. I've had 2 sessions with it now at both events, and the modern control type is just really cool for getting in quick. And I don't have my classic control type commands, memorized by any means. So being able to jump in and, have a simpler setup to more so focus on strategy rather than technicality has been really fun in just getting into a match with a friend and both of us being competitive. I've really enjoyed it. I can't wait for Street Fighter 6.
I really enjoyed the whole meter management that you have to do in that game. Like you have your drive meter. That's like sitting right below your health bar, and you have 8 segments of it to use, and you use that for like your EX moves, for parries. Parrying is really easy in this game. You just hold down 2 buttons and it auto parries for you. It's really cool, and that can refill your gauge as well. And then you also have drive impact, which is kind of like the what was it called? Oh, the focus attacks in Street Fighter 4. So they're kind of building off of the last few iterations of Street Fighter and making the system a lot more, I think, accessible for new players and pretty complex still for experienced players. It's a lot of fun. I had a great time getting beat by Alex for about half an hour, 40 minutes or so.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a lot. I mean, I'm using modern control type. I'm just like holding a couple buttons down, and which is a valid way to play.
Oh, totally.
I shouldn't discount myself, but
no, you shouldn't. But I tried the modern controls, and I'm used to having like the 6 buttons and having to input like my dragon punch motion and whatnot. And I didn't really like the modern controls, but I love that it's there for people who want that easier ramp into it. And then the classic controls are there for people who want to kind of focus on honing their combos and getting more nuance out of their fights.
Totally. Well, we'll get to our second question from Then Tom Was Like on Discord, saying, why don't more fighting games invest in the story? NetherRealm seems to completely own that space. Wes, I'm going to go to you real quick. I know me and you both, I feel like, are the least experienced fighting game players here, but do you have any favorite fighting game stories from the past?
Growing up, funny enough, like PS2 era, I was super into Tekken. I want to say Tekken Tag Tournament, whatever one was on PlayStation 2.
Yeah, Tekken Tag.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I loved that story mode and played through it like probably once a week. That was back in the days when like you had like 2 games and you just played them nonstop until like the next holiday where you might get a game as a gift.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the specifics of it today because I have not touched that game since the PS2 era, but I always really enjoyed running through that story mode. And Tekken's just kind of like wild overall story wise.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes.
That was the game with the devil, I believe. Was that his first appearance as a playable character? I can't remember. But
Devil Jin or Devil Kazuya? Maybe 3.
It might be 3. I don't know.
it was my first experience with
It was wild though. Yeah,
Devil
so you're
Incarnate.
right about that.
and then as this person points out, like NetherRealm, Mortal Kombat games have always been especially awesome. I loved Mortal Kombat X. I still got to get around to 11 one day.
11's story is good.
It's like being invested with like the Mortal Kombat story since 1, and like really like the PS2 era solidified it for me. Like for whatever reason, Deadly Alliance and then Deception's story mode. Having played all of that, and then like the reboot in 9, the expansion of it in X, and then the conclusion of everything in 11, and like all the callbacks and stuff in 11. It's beautiful. It's so good.
Yeah, I don't have an excuse. I think it's it's definitely on Game Pass, and I think it's coming to PS Plus, or it might already be there. Like, I just got to play this game.
In terms of like why fighting games don't invest in story, it's probably budgetary reasons. Like you have a limited amount of money. I mean, NetherRealm has that WB money, I think, or they still do. They have the resources. I've visited NetherRealm, and they have like a really dope studio. They have like a mocap studio where they do all that stuff. So they have the resources to invest in story, and they do it really well, because I think MK11 is kind of like this dark comedy that is really well done. But like for other games, like again, limited resources, and if they're going to invest a limited budget into something, it's like, well, what's going to sustain our fighting game long term? It's fight systems, mechanics, online
characters,
modes, things like that. And I do really like BlazBlue Cross Tag. I think Persona 4 Arena and Arena Ultimax have some really, really good storytelling in the Persona universe. They are presented visual novel style, so there are good fighting game stories out there, and I get invested in a lot of the characters from like Guilty Gear and BlazBlue, and even like Under Night In-Birth, which is just again, it's just like straight up like visual novel sequences, but they have a limited capacity to do things like cutscenes or like expansive worlds to explore, and so they try to do the most with what they can while prioritizing the things that are going to you could have a great story in your fighting game, but it's never going to make it onto the EVO main stage if it's not mechanically sound.
Yeah, exactly.
Word. Well, let's get on to second to last question from our podcast editor, Matt Storm. They ask, Guilty Gear Strive was handedly the dominant game at EVO this year. Why do you think that is? I think the biggest reason was the amount of competitors that entered. I think Guilty Gear, similar to like what Street Fighter 6 I think is going to be, I think it's the most approachable fighting game I've played in recent years,
which is strange for the lineage of Guilty Gear,
right?
From what I've heard, that it was like a huge departure, and I know there's like some controversy about it for a while. I think that has settled down now, and people have realized that the skill ceiling in this game is incredibly high, and by making the game more approachable for new players, it's not. You can have both things. They aren't mutually exclusive. You can have a game that is really complex and deep, and also have it so that new players can more easily pick it up. Speaking as somebody who's done that,
I think this is also the first year that Strive was available for EVO, at least also in a physical capacity. So it is the one that. And it sold extremely well. I think they just announced that they crossed 1 million units sold. So it definitely has the player base. And then, like I said, like the most entrants, the number of entrants kind of determines where you place in the schedule for EVO. So most entrants headlining the game that's going to headline the tournament. But yeah, Guilty Gear has a pretty like strong history, and and this I think is probably the best one. I played some Exerd, but I do like Strive quite a bit, and I think that's the sentiment all around.
I think Exerd and like the revamp of the visual style really put Guilty Gear on the map. Like it still wasn't huge because it is a very complex fighting game. It is an anime fighter, and it is still kind of niche. But with Strive making those mechanics more approachable while keeping that cool visual style, also it just being the newest game that's out there that people are excited for, I think it helps a lot to make it such a huge game at Evo. The thing that I think really helps the staying power for Strive, at least in a pandemic era, is that it has good netcode.
Yeah,
like people have been able to play online and practice their skills with people and hold tournaments online and not have to worry about your connection being like trash. It really helps with the longevity of this game in particular, and I think other games are going to have rollback coming up soon.
Hell yeah.
I think also weirdly, DB Fighters was such a huge game. It came out a few years beforehand, and I think personally for me, when I heard, oh, this is the next game, this game is Arc System Works. Oh, I know that name from DB Fighters. I want to check out their new game. That was kind of how it was for me. I heard two things. I heard the studio that made DB Fighters, and I heard Approachable. And I was like, oh, and then I saw it, and the character designs in Guilty Gear are so cool. Like I think some of the strongest. Yeah, ridiculous, so cool. And I think it's kind of just like a combination of all of it that made it so dominant at Evo this year. Yeah. I think that's the answer to the question, Matt. Last question comes from former Game Informer show host Alex Stadnick.
Who?
I don't know.
Who's this guy?
Must have been a while back.
Yeah, Stadnick asks, what was the best meal you had in Vegas? And Wes, I don't know if you've been to Vegas before.
I have.
I'm gonna extend this to you as well. So be thinking, what's the best meal you've had in Vegas? And Alex knew that me and John went to Momofuku.
Mm-hmm.
Did Momofuku change your life? Why didn't you send any to me? So, well, I'll go ahead and say Momofuku was the best meal I had in Vegas.
What is this place? What is Momofuku?
It is the restaurant that was started by Chef David Chang. He's a big restaurateur, author. I know him from like his TV personality. He's been in a lot of shows and reality shows. And
he has a few Netflix shows that you should check out. I think Ugly Delicious.
Ugly Delicious is so good.
Is one of his newer ones.
Ugly Delicious is incredible. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner he did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of. Yeah, I think he was on Anthony Bourdain's No Reservations back in the day. Dude's kind of been all over the place, and Momofuku is his
high-end
restaurant in
dining
Vegas.
experience.
It's two Michelin stars.
Ooh, okay. So it's like fancy dining? Like you're probably spending a lot
Oh,
of money?
Yeah. I think we both got out of there still under $100 each, but like,
well, that's not too bad. Yeah.
Food and drinks was up there. So
yeah, it's Korean food, very high profile. But we went there, and I don't know if you noticed, John. We didn't talk about this. The people sitting next to us, I think, were like influencers or something.
Oh,
because they just kept bringing dishes out without asking.
Oh,
like,
no!
They're like, and here's our. Like they were essentially the chef was sending dishes to their table. They were somebody.
The people to my left.
Yeah, to your left.
Okay, yeah.
I had an incredible duck dish. That was a duck confit. For starters, we had pork belly buns.
Yeah.
The
Those
texture on the bun was.
It's like
really,
so
really
smooth
good.
and like perfect, and it kind of felt like smooth, either like dough or Play-Doh. Like it didn't feel like
Play-Doh. What?
it didn't feel like it was. It didn't feel like a bun. Like not that I've like ever had before. Maybe that's my.
I eat a lot of pork buns and chicken buns.
Yeah.
At Moto Eye next door.
Oh
to
sure.
me.
Yeah.
So good.
Was it similar to that then for you? For that pork bun? Yeah.
The pork bun is probably the best pork bun I've had.
It was incredible.
I'm a big fan of like fried chicken and buns, and they didn't have that option. I'm curious because the duck was incredible, so I wish I would have been able to taste some chicken. But yeah, it was a great meal. Would you order, John?
I had spicy miso ramen.
Oh, nice.
Which was very good as well. And I would agree, Momofuku was my best meal that we had in Vegas, hands down.
What about you, Michael?
Oof. Well, I think this chicken salad sandwich I got downstairs from Luxor. No, that was actually hidden. The
Johnny
bun was
Rockets.
You could ask Cam about that. This tall can of White Claw.
Perfect.
When we also went to John, Alex, and I and other friends went to Gordon Ramsay's burger joint.
Oh right.
Yeah, that was That was a very good burger. I had a blue cheese
It was.
burger.
Okay,
Yes.
so I've always
You
wondered
never
if, like,
know.
Yeah.
I was like, is this just a gimmick? Like, is this really going to be good? You never know with that. It's like, is this a tourist trap?
Was it a Hell's Kitchen or is it like a different place?
It was very, very good. I do think that there's a ceiling on burgers. I guess it's like it was worth $18 to me, but I think the skill gap, the gap between like something from like a high end burger joint from like locally compared to Gordon Ramsay burger. Like Gordon Ramsay's burger is better, but I don't know if it's like, yo, we're in Vegas, we need to get Gordon Ramsay burger. But I did enjoy it. What was more impressive?
Come to Minneapolis, we have 2 burgers here. Everybody at GI will always say the Parlor Burger. There's a place down the street from me. It's my favorite restaurant in Minneapolis called Lake and Irving. It is a Japanese Hawaiian American fusion restaurant.
Ooh.
Sounds amazing.
And they have a burger that is the best burger I've ever had in my life. It blows the Gordon Ramsay burgers out of the water.
Oh wow. Wow.
And it's also at like $18, $19, something like that.
Well,
gotta
we have
get-
to
So you
go.
come to Minneapolis, I'm gonna take you there, and that is a
Hell yeah.
life-changing burger.
Let's go. What I was more impressed with was the Henny Sangria. Yo,
Yeah.
they had a sangria and there's Hennessy in it, and that's like, oh, they made this specifically for me.
For you.
Yeah, I guess. Also, I did try Fogey's. So we were hanging out with the homie Fogey Bear, and he ordered this really fancy hot dog. It was like a foot-long hot dog with like eggs, onion strings, all kinds of other stuff on it. And he was just talking up about the like it's like,
Part of the
I'm getting-
5%.
Yeah, I'm the 5%. Like I'm like because he asked the waitress, and he was like, how many people actually order the hot dog? She was like, I don't know, like 5% of the people. He was like, oh, I'm part of the 5%. All right, let's go. And he was just like, Glizzy gang, yo, this is the best hot dog. Y'all can't mess with me. And I was like, dog, look at this Glizzy gladiator over here. It was a good hot dog.
It was a good dog, man.
I don't know if it was $18 good.
No.
though.
It looked good, but I just couldn't. I couldn't get down with going to a burger place and getting a hot dog.
I thought about it. I wanted to be part of that 5%.
I got a stadium hot dog, and
It's the
That's
same
on the third
size.
day.
It's huge.
same size, pretty good.
That
Pretty
hog
good.
dog, man.
Also $18.
Yes.
Also $18. Yeah.
Everything. Beers, waters, fries, $18.
Wes,
Yes.
what is your best meal you've had in Vegas, Wes?
So I lived in California for growing up for the first 6 or 7 years of my
Yeah,
life.
we're talking about Las Vegas.
No,
though.
San Diego. So we would go to Las Vegas, it was like a weekend's drive away. So my family would go there and just kind of hang out. I don't really know what I was doing. I was like 5,
Going to arcades.
hopefully, maybe. I know we got kicked out of Treasure Island once because my aunt let me pull a slot machine.
Yeah.
Not supposed to do that.
Hell yeah.
All I remember, I don't remember specific places, but like the main, marquee hotel buffets, amazing. Just like they have all the food ever made in the world, like on a buffet, and you can just get as much of it. I just remember getting like a wild amount of crab, like just plates of crab legs. And I don't know if they do buffets in Las Vegas anymore. Probably not with COVID.
They
but
do.
They do.
then
they
I
do.
would, probably smash a
Vegas
buffet
is
still.
lawless.
Yeah, true.
Awesome. Well, that's going to be it for the show this week. Of course, head over to GameInformer.com for all the previews, features, news, reviews. We got a new cover story coming up here soon in the coming weeks, so stay tuned. It's going to be a good one, but we'll have more on that in the coming weeks. But in the meantime, head over to fanbyte.com.
Yeah.
Check out all of the work that Michael does. TheLinkshell.com, right?
Yep.
As
Yep.
well.
That is
For all the Final Fantasy stuff.
Mhm.
Where else? Point people to all the places. Where can they follow you?
Again, they can follow me at Michael P. Higham on Twitter, and you should maybe follow at Fanbyte Media if you want to keep up with Fanbyte through Twitter. Don't hit up my Instagram. I don't post on Instagram. Hit up my Cash App.
Hell yeah.
Hit it up
my
with some
Cash App.
cash.
$sign BrokeBoy69 and send me a couple bucks.
John, how about you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at John_Carson and on Twitch at John Carson Games. And sometimes, I guess, you can find my written content as I freelance for IGN and Game Informer, if you've heard of that place.
I have once or twice. That's going to do it for the show this week. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, you guys, for being here, being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And I guess we'll talk to you in the next one.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.